Today I want to discuss one of my favorite things and a real focus of this channel, which is business and first class international redemptions. And so today I'm going to talk about the 8 different business class products that Nona and I have taken, my player 2, in the last couple of years, and just kind of rank each one of them, tell you which ones were really good, which ones were really a good deal, and which ones that maybe, even though they're all way better than economy, some I would choose over others. So I'm going to share that with you. If you would, please hit the like and subscribe button, and let's look at it together. So in the past 2 years, my player 2 and I have taken 8 international business class flights. And some of them we paid as high as 87,000 points, plus a few $100s in taxes and fees. And some others as low as 34,000 points, and some with just $5.60 in taxes and fees. So in this, I'm going to walk through and rank each of the 8 different flights that we took and tell you what we think of them. Now, the 8 flights that we took were British Airways, United Polaris. We took Iberia. We took a business class flight with Turkish. We took a business class flight with American Airlines. We took one with Etihad in business class. We took a Qatar flight in business class, and finally we took a Condor business class flight. So I'm going to walk through each one of them from the worst to the best. Now, I do want to warn you as we get started, even though I'm saying some of these are far worse than some of the others, that doesn't mean it was a bad product, because in comparison to flying in economy, the worst business class is the best seat you're ever going to have. It's just far, far better. So keep that in mind as we're going through this list. Now, to start off, number 8 on my list, and it wasn't even close. So when we get into the next tier, we're talking like number 7 through number 4, it was very difficult for me to decide which was better than which, because they were all pretty good. In other words, those are ones that I'd be excited to take again. But number 8 trailed behind the rest of the pack by a long, long way, and that is British Airways business class product. Now, on this one, we actually flew in the A380 from London Heathrow back to the United States. We flew in the top of the A380. You know, it's a double-decker plane. And I'll tell you, that business class seat, it was only the second business class seat we'd ever flown, but it was right on the heels of flying over to Europe on United Polaris, and we were extremely disappointed. So Nona sat over near the window. She was facing backwards, and I sat on the aisle right next to her, but we had a big partition divider between us that we couldn't really hardly see around, and I was sitting right on the aisle. Now, I'll tell you, it was disappointing because on my part, I'm a pretty tall guy, over 6 feet tall, and I was very cramped. The seat was the narrowest business class seat we've ever had, and it wasn't very secluded at all. We felt like we were right out in the middle of the aisle. So it just, my experience, even though better than anything back in economy or probably even premium economy, it was still the poorest business class product I've experienced. Now, Nona, she was over towards the window, but the way the seat is designed, she couldn't get up because the other seat that's in front of her, the gentleman sitting in that seat, she had to ask him to adjust his seat in order to get her feet out to even go to the bathroom. So it had very, very, very poor aisle access. Now, when it came to food, it was not memorable. The seat was not particularly comfortable. We didn't feel like we had very much privacy. I was right out there in the middle of the aisle. It was too narrow. I mean, overall, the only nice thing about British Airways, it was the flight where we got the very best amenity kit, I think, that we've probably gotten on any flight, or at least in the top 2 or 3. So that's really the only redeeming quality, except that it was business class. It wasn't in the back of the plane. So that's our number 8 on the list, and it was far, far below the others. Now, when we get to this next part of the list, these next 3 or 4 are all what I would say they're fine. In fact, I'd be excited to fly them again. Each of them provided a quality business class product, in my opinion. But it was difficult to decide because, like I said, it was very, very, very close between them. But at number 7, I'm going to put American Airlines business class. Now, American Airlines, I would have thought it would actually have been worse than it is, because even though it's number 7, and that seems pretty poor, pretty far down on the list, it was barely number 7. I mean, it could almost have been number 4 or number 3. It was very, very good, but the others were just slightly better. But I wouldn't have any reservation. In fact, I'll fly American again, and I won't have any reservation about it at all, because the seat, I was facing backwards up against the window. The seat was very secluded. I felt like I was off to myself, and it was very, very big. I had lots and lots of space. In addition to that, the seat was very, very comfortable. I slept exceptionally well. It was wide enough for me. It was long enough for me, and it made a great lay-down seat. And then, in addition to that, the food was very, very good. I still remember, it's been probably 6-8 months ago when I took that flight, and I had a salmon dish that is still memorable in my mind. It was so good. So, not to any of this to say, even though it ranks number 7, that American Airlines business class isn't good, I'll fly it again, and I won't have any qualms about it. And in fact, if it's cheaper, I would fly it over some of the others on this list, only because it's just only that much different. So the service was even good on it, which people talk about bad service on American, but up in business class, I had really good service. So that's my number 7 on the list. Number 6 on the list is another airline that sometimes people talk very negatively about their business class, and that is Iberia. Now, what makes this one great is Iberia, this is the cheapest business class ticket that we purchased of all these 8. It was only 34,000 points, and I don't know, maybe $100 or so in taxes and fees to fly from Madrid all the way back to the US in business class. And I think part of the reason we enjoyed it so much is because the seat was nice, the food was decent. I mean, I don't remember a great many details about it, but I remember we liked it at the time and were impressed. And I remember that the service was pretty good. The seat had a great kind of decor about it. Overall, it was just a really, really good experience. And the Iberia Lounge was very nice in Madrid. So this one, it was hard for me. Is this one or American a little bit better? And I think the Iberia flight was just ever so slightly better than the American. So that's why I put it solidly at the 6th spot. Number 5 is another airline that sometimes people say isn't all that great, but we got a good deal on. In fact, it was 55,000 Alaska points to fly from Frankfurt, Germany back to JFK on Condor. Now, Condor is quirky and fun. I mean, it has the striped planes, and even the interior of the plane is striped, but it was very nice. I mean, it looked very new, it looked very modern, and it kind of had a fun vibe to it, which we really, really liked. And particularly, Nona just thought the salt and pepper shaker shaped like an airplane was one of the coolest things she'd ever seen. The food on that flight, that's the most recent flight we took, the food was very good. In fact, they brought us an entire tray of appetizers. You got the whole tray. You didn't have to just pick and choose. It was great food. It was really good service. I still remember the service. It wasn't quite the super personal service some of the others higher up on this list will have, but it was good service, and I wouldn't hesitate at all to fly in Condor again. And that's why I put them here at number 5 on the list. Number 4 on the list, and like I said, number 4, 5, 6, and 7, they were all very, very, very close. I mean, I suppose, depending on the day you did the travel, I might have adjusted them differently, but that's how close the experiences were. But I think we put number 4 on the list where it is because it's the first one we ever did. And it's the first business class experience we ever had. And we also enjoyed the United Polaris Lounge. It was a great experience. So number 4 on the list is United Polaris. Now, we paid 60-something thousand for this, but then they went through a devaluation. So now, if you're going to fly United Polaris, a Saver Award is going to be either 80 or 88,000 points, which is one of the higher redemptions on this list. And I honestly, I'd probably fly Condor or Iberia or American over this flight now just because, all things considered, they're really almost as good and they're much, much cheaper than 80 or 88,000 points, if I'm just being honest about it. But we had a fantastic time on our very first business class trip on United Polaris. It was a great time. We had great service. My service, I remember my flight attendant, we were sitting in the middle, so we had different flight attendants on each side. And my flight attendant was a little bit better than hers was, but both of them were more than adequate. The food was really, really good. The seat was super comfortable. And the Saks bedding that they provide on United is so, so nice. So I think United, and like I said, it might be a little bit biased, a little bit tainted because it's the first one and we were so, so excited to do it and so impressed. But I'm going to put it at number 4 on the list. Now, when we move into number 3 through number 1, these are more elite experiences. And number 3, had we been in a different hard product, probably would have been higher on the list. Maybe 1, maybe 2. But number 3 was Turkish Airlines. Now, again, we got it when it was cheaper, and I don't remember exactly what we paid, but in the 40-something-ish thousand to be able to fly to Europe. And we flew in Turkish over to Istanbul and then from there to Athens. And it was a fully laid down seat. The only reason it doesn't rank higher, it was their old business class. And although it is the hugest seat of all of them that we've taken, I mean, it was gigantic. And I, as a big tall guy, I had room. I mean, I could slide around in that thing. You're really, really far. It's just kind of, you know, side by side and the same shape, just facing forward. And in that seat, you really are way far from your television screen, and that's kind of the downside. But the reason that they're still way high up is because regardless of the seat, even though it was comfortable and it was really big, but you had the downsides of being so far from the TV and all of that. And it was just older. It wasn't as modern and nice, but the service, oh, wow. And the food, no question, of all the flights, even though the next 2 on this list had fantastic food as well, Turkish has the best food. We had a chef on the plane in the little chef's hat and everything who came by with the cart and showed you all the different options. And I mean, the way they spread out your meal, it's like you're in a Michelin star restaurant. It is just amazing. The food was out of this world delicious. And then in addition to that, the service, I mean, just the attentiveness was out of this world. So today, I think you can get a Saver Award flight for about 65,000 points from the U.S. to Istanbul, but then they're going to add on if you go past there. So keep that in mind. However, we had a fantastic, great experience on Turkish business class, and that's why I rank them at number 3. Now, number 2 is the airline that is often touted as the best business class in the world. We just took this recently, and we took a Qatar business class flight from the Middle East, from Dubai, through Doha into Germany, to Berlin, Germany. And in that flight, wow, the service was great. Now, I got to say, it isn't number 1. And that's probably because we weren't in Q suites. We were in their other type of business class seat. But it was still just as good as all these others. In fact, even better in some ways. And the reason this ranks so high is Qatar has amazing customer service. And the pajamas that we got on the flight, so nice. And the slippers, so nice. The bedding, so nice. And the food. We had steaks on the plane, and they were just absolutely, they're just as good as what we'd order in a restaurant. So delicious. And then the lounge, the first class lounge in Doha is like no other lounge experience in the world. So for me, that's just where it has to be. And you might seem strange that it's not number 1, but it's because number 1 was just so very, very good. And it barely etched this one out. And if we've been in Q suites, I think this one would probably be on top. Also, it's good to note that this Qatar flight was one of the cheapest of all. In fact, the second cheapest one we've ever purchased at just 42,500 American Airlines miles. Now, number 1 on the list, and it is an outstanding, outstanding product. And that is we flew from Boston to Abu Dhabi on Etihad business class. And the reason this one's so nice is the seats are the most elegant thing. I mean, you just feel like luxury. The little light that they have, even just the style and the way that it's just the mood lighting. It is just so unbelievably nice. The seat is so comfortable, so spacious, but yet you feel secluded, but yet you have direct access to the aisle. They have incredible pajamas. I still wear my pajamas at home pretty much every night. They are so nice. They had great slippers. The food, I had a great steak on this flight as well. And it's just a la carte dining, order whatever you want, whenever you want. And I'm telling you, we had a flight attendant that was like, treating you like they were the maitre d' to a king. I mean, he was there all the time, but he didn't bother us. He let us sleep and all that. And in fact, I slept for like 10 hours. It was such a comfortable experience. So for me, the Etihad flight of all the ones we've taken, now we've got some others coming up. Next year, we're going to take an Emirates flight. We've already got it booked. So maybe that'll rank just a little bit higher. But as of right now, the best flight that I've ever taken, that we've ever taken so far out of the 8 different products we've experienced is number 1, Etihad. So that's my list. Have you flown any of these? What do you think of them? If you would, both hit the like and subscribe button. Also consider my channel membership, just $2.99 a month. You can cancel anytime. I do special videos just for my members and early release videos. And if you'll consider that, also if you'll hit the like and subscribe button, tell me what you think in the comments. Have you flown any of these? What's your ranking of your favorite flights you've flown in business class? Let me know down below, and we will see you here next time.